Well, that was disappointing. After gaining so many valuable experience points and getting so close to my next save point in my game, I was defeated in combat and lost it all. All the hard work I'd put in to get there, all the XP that I had gained by successfully enduring and overcoming each challenging battle to get to this point, all gone. And now I'm tasked with starting all the way back at my previous save point with nothing to show from my last run except lost time and even less patience. Now, sure, I suppose I learned a lot about what lies ahead of me, and I'm a little bit more prepared this time than I was on my first attempt, but that doesn't make it any easier to accept. I've lost all I had acquired since my last save point. Now, fortunately, the game gives me a path to redemption, but it will require something from me first. In order to successfully retrieve all the XP that I lost in my defeat, I have to go back through all the areas that I just battled through, find the enemy who defeated me, and get what they took from me back.
For those who haven't played it, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is one of the few modern games that do not have a save anywhere you want function, limiting gamers to only being able to save their games at predetermined save points. While there are a few benefits to this design approach, it also means that failing in combat has a heavier cost than games that simply permit us to reload our last save from a few seconds ago and try again.
And while losing our progress after perishing is pretty standard in most games, Jedi Survivor has a pretty nifty way to restore all of that missing progression. We must return to the place where we were defeated, face the exact same opponent who previously defeated us, and upon returning to the scene of the crime, the game is actually kind enough to illuminate them with a glowing light that indicates that they possess our stolen XP. And upon successfully engaging them in battle, we can gain back everything we lost. If only things in life were always this easy.
If you are anything like us, you have lost some things in life too. Time, loved ones, relationships, capabilities, possessions. Many times it can feel like my path in life has a great deal in common with my struggle to make progress in Jedi Survivor. Getting stuck on one area forces me to go back to a restart point over and over and over again until I can finally get it right and move ahead. And in the meantime, I feel like I am wasting valuable time, energy, and resources just to get back to the exact same place I was before.
And my anxiety is compounded by the knowledge that I'm not getting any younger here. I have less time each day to move my journey forward, making any non-fruitful time even more painful to absorb. Now sure, there's knowledge I've gained, there's skills I've grown, and lessons that I've learned through my repetitive efforts to advance, but that doesn't make it any easier to accept the reality that sometimes I will spend a great deal of time and effort just trying to get back to square one. If I may get slightly personal for a moment, I have lost a lot in my life. Sometimes because I carelessly explored areas well beyond my skill level and was defeated in those battles that I wasn't fully prepared for. Other times because I made costly errors in judgment and sinful decisions that resulted in catastrophic losses that can never be recovered. And if you've experienced some of these same heartbreaking setbacks or are currently dwelling in a place that's defined by pain and loss, I have some encouragement for you. But we're going to have to go back to an old save point to get there. Way back in 2 Samuel 11, we find King David, ruler of Israel, fresh off of multiple successful conquests in life. David had just finished making peace with the last remaining family member of his predecessor, King Saul. He was in a relative place of peace. He had just gained massive victories in battle with the Philistines, Moabites, Ammonites, and the Syrians.
But David was about to experience one of the greatest falls from grace in the entire Bible on one fateful night. The evening he allowed his eyes to wander onto Bathsheba.
And if you know the story, you already know where this is going. For those that don't, it's one of the saddest chapters recorded in Scripture, as the soul who was previously called a man after God's own heart does the unthinkable, graduating from lust to adultery to cold-blooded murder to cover up his dark deeds. And as this tragic story reached its climax, David finally achieved a point of clarity on his exceedingly sinful decisions, but it was too late to close the Pandora's box that he had opened. His affair with Bathsheba resulted in a pregnancy that would culminate in one of the greatest losses a soul can endure, the death of a child.
While we could probably spend hours discussing every aspect of David's fall and the equity of the consequences he endured as a result, here's the bottom line. The child born of this union was lost to both David and Bathsheba, and at this point a decision had to be made.
David had repented, prayed, fasted, and attempted everything in his power to turn this judgment away. So the way that he responded to this devastating ending to his broken chapter in life is something, honestly, that I think we could all learn something from. In 2 Samuel 12, we see that David has found out, realized that his child has passed away. So it says, David arose from the ground, washed, anointed himself, changed his clothes, went to the house of the Lord, and worshipped. Then he went to his own house and ate the food that was set before him. His servant said, "What is this? You fasted and wept while the child was alive, but when the child died, you rose and ate food." And David's response, while the child was alive, I fasted and wept, for I said, who can tell whether the Lord will be gracious to me and the child will live? But now that he's dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. Then David and Bathsheba bore another son together, Solomon. And it says the Lord loved this child and sent word by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and even gave him his own personal name, Jedidiah.
That literally almost made me cry, I'm not gonna lie.
And I mean, it's a very unexpected turn of events, but within this tragic tale of loss and restoration is a critical lesson for each of us. Rather than bury himself in the painful grief and deep regret of his sinful actions and their horrific ramifications, David demonstrated a stunning level of clarity as he looked with hope towards the eternal future he would spend with this child, as well as turned his eyes towards the remarkable grace he was still being shown in the present. Now, yes, David endured catastrophic loss, and I doubt that he ever stopped missing the child that he lost. I know I haven't. And if you've experienced, the loss of a child the way that we have, this next part is for you. David also experienced an incredible restoration from the Lord during his remaining days on this side of eternity, a grace we have also received as we eagerly await the birth of another child in our own family. Now, sometimes, like in the case of David, the loss and heartbreak we experience in life is a consequence of the sinful decisions that we've made.
Other times, like in the life of Job, the tragedies we endure have nothing to do with any actions we have made and are actually part of a larger narrative that we cannot see or comprehend at this time. Both of these men of faith, for different reasons, experienced the kind of setbacks that would make any of us decide to throw our controllers away in frustration and quit the game.
But here's the lesson I learned from Jedi Survivor, as well as from both of their experiences walking through the little valley of the shadow of death. Restoration is only possible when we make the decision to move forward in faith. If David had allowed his grief to consume him so that he would never try again, there would never have been a Solomon. The existence of Solomon is proof that David didn't simply move on with his life. He moved forward. He chose to trust that this time things would end differently. His sins were now firmly placed in his past. His relationship with the Lord and his wife Bathsheba were on solid ground. And the Lord blessed David and Bathsheba with restoration in the form of a new child.
The story of Job also finished with a happy ending, with Job experiencing a miraculous restoration after enduring his undeserved attacks from Satan, celebrating the birth of 10 children and getting to see his grandchildren to the 4th generation before he passed on to reunite with the children he had lost.
In Jedi Survivor, there's a key component to achieving restoration of what I lost in the game. I have to be willing to return to the place where I lost my progress, moving forward with faith that I will overcome this battle and gain back all the XP that was stolen from me. Now, I might be in this position because I made critical mistakes in my previous approach, and I'll remedy that during this attempt. It could simply be because I was facing a challenge far above my skill level, and I went into that fight unprepared. Either way, I will have to face the same adversary that defeated me head on. And I will not experience restoration of what I have lost until I am willing to go back to the place where I previously fell and press through until I'm victorious.
The same womb that previously birthed the child that David and Bathsheba lost was also the nurturing home for Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived.
The same home that represented so much pain and loss for Job was the place he would one day rock his great-great-great-grandchild to sleep. The sealed tomb that represented the death of Christ and previously held his broken body is the location of his greatest triumph. And on it goes.
place of our greatest fall from grace or most painful setbacks in life only becomes a permanent monument if we allow it to remain there. But the path to restoration is a journey walked hand in hand with the Lord as we allow Him to cleanse our repentant soul, heal our broken heart, and renew our faith in His ability to make these dry bones live again.
Our encouragement to you today is this: it is our enemy that tries to bury us in shame for the sins we've repented from, and uses our previous tragedies to keep us from moving forward after he's killed our dreams and stolen our joy. It's in his job description. Satan would like nothing better than to see the children of God wallowing in despair, afraid to embrace our God-given destinies, because we believe the Lord's grace is sufficient enough to cleanse us, but lacks the strength to restore us. We have not been given a spirit of fear. And as I have found every time I've moved forward in Jedi Survivor, that enemy that knocked me down last time will eventually fall. Did I mess up the first time, second time, maybe even the 10th time? Yes, I did. I was too careless, too clumsy, too cocky, or maybe I was just unfortunate in my original approach.
But restoration is assured for all of the Lord's children who are willing to return to that place of previous defeat and allow the Lord to give us the strength to not only face them, but refuse to permit them to define us. No matter how we got into our place of trauma, there is a restoration for each of us on the other side of even our darkest tragedies, both in this life as well as the life to come.
Now, how can we know this? Because in the Lord's infinite grace and mercy, He has blessed us not one, but two beautiful girls to bring restoration to our little family. And one day, we will all be reunited together on the other side. The Lord used the very place that once represented our deepest pain and loss to restore our joy. And we know that He can do the same for you.